2024 runoff vote. Plus, the Pakistan Parliament elects Shehbaz Sharif as new Prime Minister following the recent deposing of Imran Khan through the vote of no confidence. Well, viewers, these and much more coming ahead with me, Mary Ajay, and do stay with us. Now, it's great to have you here. We begin tonight's bulletin with the presidency as President Barrow congratulates Gambians and the IEC for the peaceful, free and fair Saturday parliamentary election, calling it an indication of vibrant democracy. President Barrow made the remarks on Monday at the State House in Banjul ahead of the first session of the National Assembly, which is the swearing-in ceremony and inauguration of the 6th legislature, slated for Thursday, 14th April 2022 at 10 a.m. at the National Assembly chambers. Well, here is an excerpt.
The election of diverse political party representatives and independent candidates from different backgrounds is an indication of a vibrant democracy. Yet again, Gambians have fulfilled a vital constitutional mandate in an amicable manner, thus demonstrating that our democracy is thriving. It was an other test of the credibility and viability of our institutions and the mechanisms and processes we are strongly determined to safeguard and strengthen. To our credit as Gambians, we have got over the event with remarkable success. Fellow Gambians, during the political campaigns leading to the 2021 presidential election and recently conducted National Assembly elections, the citizens of this nation loudly expressed and showed their passion for efficient public service that would improve their lives and livelihoods. They have demonstrated the desire for stability, sustained good governance, and infrastructural development to boost the performance of all sectors. It is clear that our people wish to maintain an environment that is peaceful, stable, and secure enough for all citizens, which is one of the top priorities of my government. These aspirations can be achieved much faster if we work as a united force. In doing so, we need to be service-oriented and committed to the betterment of the people, strive to advance and strengthen our democracy, and observe the principles of peace and justice for all. These are essential elements for good governance and progress, which we cannot ignore.
And now the head of the ECOWAS Election Observer Mission, His Excellency Mohammed Ibn Chambers, has praised the conduct and outcome of the Gambia National Assembly elections held on Saturday. Now, speaking to reporters after a closed-door meeting with President Adama Barrow, Mr. Chambers disclosed that the 40 ECOWAS observers deployed across the country attested to the timely, transparent and peaceful conduct of the vote, which sets an example for the rest of the sub-region. Mamadou Jallo reports.
His Excellency Mohammed Ibn Chambers led the ECOWAS Election Observer Mission in the just concluded National Assembly election. The team also includes General Francis Behanzin, the ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs, and Baba Gelo, the ECOWAS representative in the Gambia. The ECOWAS mission comprised 40 personnel spread across the country to observe the process and conduct of the election. Speaking to reporters after their meeting with President Barrow, Mr. Ibn Chambers disclosed that the mission met all the stakeholders, including the Independent Electoral Commission, the Inter-Party Committee, and civil society groups, and got assurances that everything was in place for the conduct of a free, fair, and transparent election.
Generally, they opened on time. Materials were there. The requisite number of staff, security, and importantly, we also saw that party agents were there. We did not visit any polling station where we didn't find party agents. At the end of the polls, again, we witnessed the counting, which was done very transparently in the open for all to see.
The ECOWAS election observers had praised the process, commending the Gambia for setting a good example for the rest of the world, especially in the sub-region where democracy has been on the retreat.
So what we see here is a good example. Gambia should be proud of themselves. I think at the end of the day, you have given testimony of your reputation as a peaceful people in a peaceful country who have delivered peaceful and credible elections.
He also urged all the political parties and candidates to accept the outcome of the process, adding that any dispute should be addressed through constitutional and legal means. Mr. Chambers finally expressed hope that this election will pave the way for the realization of a new democratic dispensation for the Gambia to enable the country to reap the dividends of democracy.
Going forward, I think there is still some work to do because the last 5 years has been transition. There are some unfinished business. We've discussed it with Mr. President, and he has demonstrated openness and willingness to continue to work with ECOWAS and other partners to advance so that we can, for instance, have a post-German constitution, a new constitution consistent with a new democratic dispensation. We can make progress with national reconciliation and social cohesion so that the Gambia remains one big family of people, so that security sector reform can be advanced. ECOWAS is particularly interested in this and is available to support.
The team also congratulated the President, the Independent Electoral Commission, political parties, and all other stakeholders for the conduct of a peaceful election process. Modu Jallo, GRTS News.
Now, meanwhile, the ECOWAS and AU findings on the Gambia on Saturday parliamentary election was also revealed to the press on Monday. Today. Now, it highlighted a low voter turnout, lack of accessibility of persons with disabilities to polling stations, and the professional conduct of election officers in the reports. Here's Usman Mane for more.
The joint press conference by the ECOWAS and AU election observation missions of the 9th National Assembly election released their preliminary findings to the public through the media. The two observer missions are in the country to consolidate the democratic gains registered in the transition to a democratic state. The main mandate of their exercise is to observe, assess, and report on the preparations for the election in line with relevant ECOWAS and AU instruments for democratic elections, as well as the Constitution and the electoral laws of the Gambia.
The African Union Election Observation Mission is still of the view that the voting system is a unique African innovation which has worked for the Gambia and for transparency of elections in Gambia in casting votes. We wish to recommend that further effort be put into making this system better, which means retaining it.
Following an extensive consultation with the political stakeholders during the nominations, campaign, and elections, the head of the ECOWAS Electoral Mission to the Gambia, Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers, explained the professional conduct of stakeholders from the polling staff to parties.
The election day processes were conducted largely in compliance with the legal framework and stipulated procedures. The mission observed good representation of women and young people among the polling officials. Observers, party agents, and security officers in most of the polling stations visited. Notwithstanding the youth participation observed at these levels of service, many of the voters observed in the queue were relatively older persons. Voter turnout was lower than witnessed during the presidential election.
40 observers were dispatched by ECOWAS across 20 constituencies, visiting 586 voting stations, while the AU deployed 19 observers to 17 constituencies, assessing 83 polling stations on election day. Sharing similar findings in their preliminary reports, the head of AU Election Observer Mission, former Ugandan Vice President, Her Excellency Dr. Spesosia Wandira Kanzibe, highlighted lack of women participation in spite of the increase in women contestants. She dilated on the disproportional constituency sizes, which did not guarantee proportional representation captured in the report.
Kombo constituency has 45,152 registered voters compared to Foni Bondali constituency with only 4,104 registered voters. And these are issues which would be of concern as the Independent Election Commission moves forward.
Both reports highlighted non-compliance with COVID-19 protocols during the entire electoral process, inadequate materials for sorting and counting of votes, some polling agents not familiar with laws and procedures leading to delay in voting. Key among the recommendations is for the IEC to adopt necessary measures to improve accessibility to some polling stations for persons with disability and take steps to develop capacity to manage elections in conflict-affected areas of the country by developing special arrangements for displaced persons, citing the Fonies in the West Coast region. The head of ECOWAS mission urged the 6th legislature to focus on constitutional reforms.
The constitutional reform process will be priority because it is when a new constitution is adopted that a new electoral code will evolve from it. And when that time comes, I can assure that ECOWAS will be happy to send the necessary experts to share experience from other member states and indeed across Africa. And we hope that the Gambians will be at that time in a position to determine what will be most efficient and effective for them going forward.
The election observation findings task IEC to collaborate with the civil society and political parties to undertake massive civic education, highlighting the importance of National Assembly elections and their role as representative of the people. Both the ECOWAS and AU will release the detailed reports in the coming months. However, they will be watching the space during the post-election period. Usman Mane, GRTS.
And now, free and transparent, the preliminary parliamentary election declaration from the African civil society has confirmed the effectiveness of the Gambia electoral systems for the consolidation of the sustainable democracy as guarantee of development. Now, the election observer group, led by Charles Balogun, said the Saturday parliamentary election was sincere, transparent, and respecting international standards in electoral matters in accordance with the Declaration of Principles of International Observation commemorated at the headquarters of the United Nations in 2005. Mr. Balogun and colleague was talking to the Director General of GRTS on Monday as the team bid farewell to the Gambia. And now over to a press release, and it reads, the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly informs the general public that the first session of the National Assembly swearing-in ceremony and inauguration of the 6th legislature after the parliamentary elections will be convened on Thursday, 14th April 2022 at 10 a.m. at the National Assembly chambers. Now, accordingly, Her Excellency the Vice President, Cabinet Ministers, government officials, political party leaders, and the general public are invited to grace the occasion marking the inauguration of the 6th legislature after the parliamentary elections. Furthermore, all elected and nominated members of the 6th legislature are kindly requested to report to the National Assembly on Wednesday, 13th April 2022 at 10 a.m. for a briefing prior to the inauguration scheduled for Thursday, 14th April 2022. Now, daily sit-ins commences at 10 a.m. prompt. The public is reminded to comply with the general safety measures on COVID-19 standard dress code required and also to observe the silence rule during proceedings of the session. Now, the release concludes. The University of the Gambia has signed a memorandum of understanding with Agence Universitaire de la Francophone at a ceremony held at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Monday symbolic ceremony paves way for knowledge sharing between the two institutions intended to boost standard at the University of the Gambia. Well, details in this report by Baba Silla.
Memorandum of Understanding will facilitate the opening of AUF offices in the Gambia, fostering cooperation between the two institutions to improve the standard at the University of the Gambia. The Vice Chancellor of the UTG, Professor Herbert Robinson, highly welcomed the move, which he said will boost the standard of UTG programs and create opportunities to share skills and opportunities.
This agreement will deepen the relationship that already existed so that we can strengthen the ICT infrastructure of the digital campus, which will enhance our capacity to reach out to many, many Gambians. Because we know that one of the key challenges in higher education is access. And having a digital platform like this will enhance the accessibility.
Professor Slim Kalbos, the director of AUF, expressed the timely nature of the cooperation and hailed its facilitation of much-needed offices in the Gambia.
It will be a beginning of a new area of this collaboration. With this agreement, we will officially open the national office of IUF in Gambia for the first time. So, like the Vice Chancellor said, we are present since many years, but our presence was only academic in some capacity building actions. But now, with this agreement, we'll improve our activities with international cooperation, with maybe creation of new diploma, and we still to continue with the activity that mentioned by the Vice Chancellor, of course.
The Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology also lauded the cooperation and explained how partnership will improve the standard of the university and enable proactive management.
It is an important step because AUF has over 1,000 universities worldwide, and it is in over 100 and something countries. So the potential for knowledge exchange is very, very important for us.
Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Mamadou Tangara signed the historic MOU between the two institutions.
This is a milestone in the cooperation between the university and the higher education sector, and the Gambia in general with Agence Universitaire de la Francophonie. And I want to comment and congratulate the Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology for this bold initiative. Because as he rightly said it during the signing ceremony, we started the journey, but he took it to he was able to take it to a higher level. And we are happy today that we are signing this headquarters agreement.
A major global higher education establishment, the AUF has numerous facilities operating in more than 100 countries around the globe. Bawasila, GRTS.
And now it could be recalled that Gambia lost one of its illustrious sons, the then ambassador to the US, Mr. Dauda Fadera, who died on the 20th of February 2022. Well, a press release and coroner's report into his death from the Ministry of Justice reads, on 21st February 2022, His Lordship, the Honorable Chief Justice Hassan B. Jallow, upon the application of the Attorney General, pursuant to the Coroner's Act, Cap 704, Laws of the Gambia, appointed His Worship Honorable C.D. K. Jobate, then Principal Magistrate, at a coroner to inquire into the cause of death of His Excellency Dauda Fadera, former Ambassador to the Republic of the Gambia to the USA. Mr. Fadera died on the 20th of February 2022 whilst admitted as a patient at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital in Banjul. Now, the inquest commenced on the 2nd of March 2022 and concluded on the 31st of March 2022. The coroner submitted her report to the Honorable Chief Justice on the 1st of April 2022, and the coroner examined 10 witnesses, including the pathologist and staff of the hospital, as independent medical expert, as well as family members of the deceased visited the hospital and reviewed relevant documents such as the post-mortem report and the hospital file of the deceased. The coroner verdict is that the deceased died as a result of an infection following surgery performed on him at the hospital. Now, the coroner found no evidence of poisoning or other unlawful conduct causing the death. The report has been forwarded to the Attorney General and to the medical authorities. The release ends. And now, caring and sharing, Direct Aid the Gambia has donated foodstuff to the differently abled people to help them meet their Ramadan expenses. Hadiyatu Jallo reports on the annual gesture as the charity continues to help the needy.
A week-long distribution of food items such as rice, sugar, oil and tea bags to Muslims around Direct Aid 4 centers and other different identified villages across the country has been wrapped up with a massive donation to Govi and the differently able individuals. Direct Aid Food Center Manager Benesa expressed delight to extend his annual gesture to the poor and needy.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Today we are here with the Associate of the Blind to distribute, sharing with them during this holy Ramadan. Inshallah, sharing with them some package Ramadan. As you see, there is some 50 package. Everyone will get each bag of the sugar, then a bag of the rice and oil, cooking oil and the tea. Then Alhamdulillah we will move to the association of the disabled people. It will be the same quantity, inshallah. Hoping over every time they will be happy, inshallah, with this package.
Receiving the gesture, beneficiaries took turns to commend Direct Aid for its continuous support they have been rendering during this time of the year, explaining that it will help them a lot to ease food ration to break their fast.
We must have to thank Direct Aid for the support. This is an annual support, it's a usual support. They are good friends. Every year they do support us. A huge number of people, blind people, do benefit from their gesture. So we thank them and we hope for more, inshallah. Thank you.
You could recall every year in the first week of Ramadan, this is the first partners who will call us to give us food item for our members. And this year also is the same as they used to do. And a very important moment for the people with determination. Not only this, they will give us a bowl every year. After giving us this food stuff, they will give us a bowl just to make our members happy. So on behalf of the Gambia National Paralympic Committee and on behalf of my colleagues who are here, I want to sincerely take this opportunity to thank Direct Aid.
This donation is among a range of humanitarian activities that the Kuwaiti-based organization have been doing in the past. Khadijatu Jallo, reporting for GRTS News.
And our 2-day-long capacity building seminar for teachers, schools, girls has ended in the Lower River region. The symposium, convened by the Human Rights Friendly School Project with funding from the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education in partnership with Amnesty International. The aim is to enhance understanding on menstrual health and how to manage it. Usman Balde has more.
These young female students may not be dropped out of school or miss majority of their lessons during their menstruation period after benefit from this 2 days training on how to manage their menstruation in schools, among other health matters. Project coordinator in the Lower River region, Musa Cham, explained that the forum will raise awareness on health and hygiene. This, he said, is in line with the project's objective of educating schoolgirls on menstrual hygiene.
The project is the Amnesty International Human Rights Friendly Project. The project raises awareness of human rights in school and make sure that school environments are friendly to the extent whereby human rights is practiced, promoted, and protected. So today we are helping and also raising awareness on health and hygiene, whereby we want to educate the children on menstrual hygiene.
Speaking to her fellow gender friends, Fatoumata Sane said the forum will go a long way in promoting gender equality in the country.
Especially the teachers know, like, the lack of period products for young girls, you know, affects their productivity in school activities, because most of the time when they don't know how to manage their periods or have access to proper facilities to manage their periods, or lack of period products, they stay home for a week without coming to school. So I hope after this training, we'll be equipped, both you and me will be equipped with knowledge and skills on how to guide ourselves during our menstruation.
Mr. Barasen from the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education called on students to stop staying at home during their menstruation periods, which he said is seriously affecting their school's academic year.
So this actual training will help you to know that menstruation is a normal phenomenon. It's not a taboo. It's not a curse on you, but it's a normal health science that you are now reaching your puberty, and you should expect that you have your monthly flow. But they will also equip you with skills on how to manage your menstrual flow. I wish we have boys here who always bully you when you have your period. They should have also been sensitized to be able to understand you, that you are part of them, and they should take care of you, and they should encourage you to stay while you are on your period. If not, they perform better, or they get promoted, you get demoted, or you get retained as a result of your natural human rights science. And I think the Ministry of Basic Education is in the forefront. If you follow the gender units, they have what we call sanitary pad distribution across the country.
Participants are expected to be able to manage their menstruation period, especially in schools, and as well as disseminate the information to their fellow colleagues who could not attend the training. Usman Balde, GRTS News.
Well, we now go for a short break, and when we return, we take a look at some news beyond our borders. Please stay tuned. Now, the French President Emmanuel Macron took his re-election bid on Monday to the northern blue-collar stronghold of his rival Marine Le Pen, who he will face in an April 24th runoff vote. His walkabout in Denain came as Le Pen promised to put in place a national unity government if elected to the presidency. Supporters of Jean-Luc Mélenchon share their pride and disappointment after the far-left candidate came third in the first round of the French presidential election. Here's more in this France 24.
En un grand mouvement politique d'unité et d'action pour notre pays.
As French President Emmanuel Macron pledges to create a united France, analysis from pollsters shows French citizens are split. Votes for France's next president were divided depending on age, background, and region. The incumbent president gained support from large prosperous cities such as Toulouse and Paris, whilst the far-right Marine Le Pen won over rural areas, particularly the post-industrial northeast. Macron came out on top amongst the over 70s with around 38% of the vote, but left-wing France-and-Baud leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon and far-right Marine Le Pen were the favourites amongst the under-35s. The younger generation's ballots are crucial for Macron in the next round, but he's so far failed to win them over.
Really, there is this anger amongst young people that does exist. Now it is the great unknown. I think that if Emmanuel Macron creates a campaign to try and win over the younger generation, it actually risks doing the opposite.
Amongst workers, Le Pen received 35% of the blue-collar vote, whilst Macron won over the same percentage amongst managerial employees. Macron, Le Pen and Mélenchon are the only candidates to have received at least 10% of the vote. It confirms the shift that began in French politics and amongst French voters in 2017, this first round of elections facing its highest abstention rate since 2002. Opinion polls suggest the runoff between Macron and Le Pen in the final round could be much closer.
That report there from France 24. And now Ukraine says it is expecting Russia to launch a major offensive in the east of the country soon. Ukrainian Defense Ministry spokesman Alexander Motoyanks said at a briefing on Monday that the enemy has almost finished preparation for assault on the east. Catherine Viet has more in this report.
Returning residents are taking stock of the damage after Russian troops pulled out of the area around Kyiv. In Berezivka, 50 kilometers west of the capital, the wreckage of Russian tanks littered the highway. The city suffered heavy shelling, and key infrastructure, including the electrical grid, was destroyed. Residents are angry about the level of damage, but say they can rebuild.
We are alive. It's most important. Houses or cars, it's not so important. They can destroy our nation and our soul.
In another town on the outskirts of Kyiv, residents are burying their dead. Ukrainian officials say more than 1,200 bodies have been found in the villages around the capital in the wake of the Russian army's retreat. The government says Russia's actions in Ukraine constitute war crimes, as investigators document cases of torture and extrajudicial killings.
Cherkovsky Alexei, born in 1990, was taken away as a prisoner of war. His body was found 3 days after that. The forensic team tell us he had been tortured and was then killed by a single shot to the head.
Fierce fighting between Russian forces and the Ukrainian army continues near Mariupol in the southeast. In an address to the South Korean parliament, President Volodymyr Zelensky said tens of thousands are dead in the port city. There is no running water, electricity, food, or medicine in the city. Those still there lined up to collect water before returning to the makeshift shelters and basements of the city's remaining buildings.
And now still on the internationals, elsewhere in Pakistan, more than 100 lawmakers loyal to Pakistan ousted Prime Minister Imran Khan resigned on Monday, creating a headache for the new Western-friendly incumbent, Shehbaz Sharif, as he tries to drag his country out of political and economic crisis. Now, France 24 has more in this report.
Voting in the country's new Prime Minister, Pakistan's parliament selects opposition PMLN leader Shehbaz Sharif for the job. Former Chief Minister of Punjab province, he has a reputation for efficiency and improving infrastructure. He's the younger brother of three-time Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. Barred from office by the Supreme Court in 2017, he now lives abroad. Shehbaz Sharif is also caught up in graft proceedings, with the trial still pending. There wasn't much doubt he would win after former Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi withdrew his candidacy, announcing an en masse resignation from ousted Prime Minister Imran Khan's PTI party, as its MPs stood and chanted, "We want freedom."
तहरीक इंसाफ के दोस्तों ने फैसला किया है इस नाजायज हरकत में हम शामिल नहीं होंगे हम आजाद पाकिस्तान के ख्वाह हैं आज हम मुस्तफी होने का ऐलान कर रहे हैं.
This means yet more political upheaval, with by-elections now to be organised for the 155 seats in Parliament. Monday's vote was scheduled after Khan was dismissed in a no-confidence vote on Sunday. No Prime Minister has ever served a full term in Pakistan, but Khan is first to lose office in this way. The former cricket star alleges his rivals colluded with the US to get rid of him because of his foreign policy stance on Afghanistan, Russia and China, which Washington denies. Khan has called on his supporters to join him on the streets in hope of forcing an early election. Thousands followed his call in cities across the country. Stepping into his shoes, Shahbaz Sharif must now form a cabinet. On the agenda, tackling soaring inflation, a weak rupee and crippling debt, as well as containing rising militancy.
Well, that was all we have for you in this edition of the news, but before we take leave of you, a quick look at our top stories once again. Done in a free and fair atmosphere and in accordance with the Declaration of Principles of International Observation, President Barrow said the 9th April Gambia parliamentary election is an indication of vibrant democracy. Now, the University of the Gambia has signed an MOU with Agence Universitaire de la Francophone, which paved the way for knowledge sharing between the two. Promoting personal hygiene, human rights-friendly school project, and Ministry of Education raised girls and teachers' awareness on menstrual health. And away from home, France President Emmanuel Macron took his re-election bid to the northern blue-collar stronghold of his rival Marine Le Pen, who he will face in an April 24th runoff vote. Plus, the Pakistan Parliament has elected Shahbaz Sharif as new Prime Minister following the recent deposing of Imran Khan through the vote of no confidence. Well, that was all in this edition of the news, and I am Marian Jai Ajayi. Thank you for the pleasure of your company, and from the entire news team, we say thanks again and good night.